Coming up, we look at the Stunner and Suva, a game of effort and attrition and some Chiefs mana. We delve into the player drain and what options New Zealand Rugby have for 2020. Plus, Havelock North's 125th year centenary. All tonight on The Breakdown.
Hello and welcome to The Breakdown. Yes, a lot for us to talk about and celebrate, and I'm looking forward to it because last week I talked about maybe the playoff picture being clearer for Super Rugby, and it's not. We've got 2 weeks to go before the playoffs start, and I still don't know who is going to be there. There's going to be some teams after this weekend who are going to be out of the running. Here's my team for tonight. Ali Williams, Sir John Kirwan, and for the first time, 2019, Richard Turner.
Thanks.
Pod, welcome.
Yeah, thanks,
Great to have
mate.
you with
Always
us.
good to be here.
You've obviously been watching every Tuesday for the year.
Every Tuesday I've been waiting for the phone call, Jeff, and it's finally come. It's like that little kid that sits at home. They won't forget me. They might forget me.
Oh, no. They've
forgotten me.
No, we hadn't
Not
forgotten
this
you.
week, though.
The Chiefs had a win. That's why you're here.
That's
no doubt
exactly why
about
I'm
it.
here.
Because we're going to give it to
In fact,
everyone.
I wasn't invited, but I just turned up.
You're waiting outside. All right, moments of the weekend. Let's go with you. Ali, what have you got?
You can't beat it when you've got an athlete of Scott Barrett's physique and his height and his ranginess.
I sense envy.
The speed this man has. And the ability, look, shall I offload it? Shall I pass it? No, I'll fend it off. Teammates, go back to halfway. I've got this. He should have taken the kick too.
Well, that's the speed of possibly an All Black six.
Definitely, Mr. Kirwan. Definitely.
Yeah. It's a possibility. I did hear from Israel Dagg that he is the second fastest team in the player in the Crusaders, but
In
that's
the
not
forward
saying,
pack.
No, he said the team.
But
Izzy's got
He's
really
lying because he beat him, probably.
Yeah, Izzy's
I
got
wouldn't
Izzy.
believe anything Israel says.
That's on a Thursday night. All right, we'll worry about that. Okay, let's go with you, Pod, for you.
Yeah, that's why I'm here.
Yep.
Yeah, same game, but it was, of course, the Chiefs. Now, talk about speed, Ali. This is speed. Have a look at Solomon Alomalo here. This is a fullback given a little bit of space and creates a whole lot of it. And, you know, the best thing about this, there was the old classic inside out to beat the last defender. But the greatest thing about this is the beginning of the end for the Crusaders. This was the start of the greatest comeback in Super Rugby history.
Super Rugby history.
Well, give me a better one.
Well,
I've just thrown it on.
You've just thrown that in there.
You've got 2
There's only
seconds
been
to come up with an
1,000
answer.
games,
Yeah,
let's be honest. There's only
Yeah,
been 1,000 games.
that's the best one.
I'll tell you what,
1,000 games.
I'm going to stay at the same game as well. Of
course,
because
the
there
greatest
is no substitute for speed. We've seen it from Scott Barrett, we've seen it from Solomon Alomalo, and then we've seen it here from the Crusaders, and this time it was Sevu Reece after Braden Ennor makes the break. This is the reality for me, and this is what the All Blacks are going to want. This is what every team is going to want, the ability to finish. And using speed and gas. Now, I'm not saying he's because here's Sean Stevenson. Watch this, and gas. And you know when gas is really important? When everyone else on the field is absolutely buggered. And they were. And so that's where it becomes so valuable. When you're at your very, very peak and the opposition is stressed and tired, taking those opportunities. And JK, there is a team that'll be stressed and tired that you're going to talk about, but they've had a big week.
For different reasons. Very different reasons. Great institution. For me, I would love to see this coming back also into New Zealand Rugby. So this is the International Barbars celebrating Mickey Steele-Bodger, who passed away. Great person in our game. But this is what rugby is still all about. Playing England, you get together late, you do celebrate, go out for dinner, enjoy it, practice at a minimum, but you can still turn up and play footy. Charles Piutau there linking up. And I would love to see our New Zealand Barbars come back. The beautiful red jersey with the lamb on it, playing maybe the All Blacks.
Yeah, I mean, I was fortunate enough to play for the Barbarians, and it's just an amazing club. I mean, any man that can play 80 minutes after a week with the Barbarians is a human legend.
So you wouldn't have played 80?
I think I didn't play 80. No, I don't think I played 80.
But your impact was high, right?
Huge. Absolutely enormous. Mate, we've got a whole week to put in.
Funnily enough, that's not going to be in the news. I'm interested to find out from Steph what is in the news after the weekend.
Yeah, so after the weekend, we have got some more players moving around. And the big news, Tony Brown is coming back. In news this week, a big loss for the Hurricanes heading into the playoffs, with Matt Proctor ruled out for the season after injuring his pectoral muscle in the match against the Sharks. The Highlanders are in full recruitment mode, signing Tony Brown as assistant coach for next season and rumoured to be chasing the talents of Crusaders duo Will Jordan and Mitch Hunt to help deal with the loss of talismanic fullback Ben Smith. And more bad news for Landers fans with another hit to the squad's propping stocks, emerging star Tyrell Lomax signing with the Hurricanes for next season. Stormers lock Eben Etzebeth has broken his hand and will miss the remainder of the Super Rugby season. Springbok coaches will be nervous as Etzebeth faces a minimum of 6 to 12 weeks on the sideline. And Wyatt Crockett has answered the call of ex-coach Robbie Deans. He will lace up for the Panasonic Wild Knights in Japan, despite not playing a single game this season. He will return for the Marcos in the Mitre 10 Cup later this year. And speaking of the Highlanders, we found this post on social media this weekend. What do you reckon, Jeff?
I can find one, and it starts with Aaron Smith and Josh Ioane. And we've got Tony Brown, so it doesn't matter. Funnily enough, though, there wasn't much mention of your Crusaders in the news.
Yeah,
What's
I didn't want to talk about it this week.
Oh, you let it go?
Yeah.
We'll get to it very, very soon.
Yeah.
Carry on.
But I know you're covering that off later, so we'll talk about the big news of what Steve Hansen had to say about Scott Barrett. That's where we believe his career is, and that's at lock. Against those big sides where you don't have hard and fast speedy games, he can definitely play at 6, but he can be a swing man even if you take 3 locks. Thoughts on that?
Well, what's he thinking, Pod? What's he talking about here? What's he saying to you when he's referencing these things in regards to Scott Barrett?
Well, he's putting to end the debate around is Scott Barrett a 6, which we were talking about. They're going to pick him as a lock, but he's going to give him the versatility. And I guess for a player like Scott Barrett, when you're going to a World Cup, you want to have a few feathers in the old quiver, and his ability, and he, reinforced it with his performance although he was in the 4 jersey, he reinforced it with his performance on Saturday, that he has the versatility to be on the bench.
Yeah, what it says to me is if I was Patrick Tuipulotu, I'd be wanting a pretty big game this week, because it looks like, 4 locks with 1 covering 6, not the other way around, which means you don't have 4 specialists, so someone's 3 locks.
It also, Steve's putting it out there and saying, well, look, I've got to look at selection different. He's saying against different teams, I'm going to look at it differently, and a guy like Scott Barrett has a different role against different teams. So,
So do we see him out there against South Africa in the first?
Yeah. Yeah, you see him out there against South Africa, but not Australia.
See, I love all of this. I love what Steve Hansen's doing here, because he's feeding bits of information and letting us debate and decide. We don't really know, but it's good. It's good for us to look at it, and so we can start writing down our teams and seeing what little nuances they're going to. And Steph, that wasn't the only thing he talked about in the interview.
No, he also made another interesting comment, which was, there's no chance of Sammy and Artie playing 6 and 7. No, there might be a chance for them to play 7 and 8.
And I love this bit of news, Steph, because JK's been harping on this show for weeks about the fact we can see Sam Cane and Artie Savia at 6 and at 7. He's just said, no, that's not going to happen.
Okay, so Kieran Reid's at 6. No issues. No issues with that.
So you think
Good
that's one of the
rebuttal, John.
possibilities?
Well done.
Oh,
So we've got a problem with that? I think it's fantastic.
All I'm saying, at the current form, Kane, Savia and Reid, you've got to have them on the field, because no one else has stepped up to say they'd be playing better.
Agree.
So I agree. So all he's saying is that you were right, breakdown. It's just that
You just got to go. We're putting
got the wrong numbers.
The
Yeah.
wrong numbers.
He's got to
just
do it in
numbers
his
on their
manner.
back,
No,
right?
we're putting Severe at 8 because I just think he's a little bit more dynamic at the moment from the base.
A little bit more. He's a whole lot more.
A whole lot.
He's a whole lot more.
He's
So I think it's a
7
great
years-
option.
he's 7 years
100%. Great option having him in the 8 jersey, and really comfortable with our skipper being on the side of the scrum.
So those are changes you can make, and we can make that debate. But does that suggest to you then, you start talking about combinations and players who are out there, a Matt Todd, for example, where does that sit then? Would we ever consider the fact we could find room for 3 7s? 3 potential 7s?
No, only 2.
Or 2
Yeah,
yours?
because we put Artie in
is
the 8
not a
jersey.
7.
Exactly.
Artie's not a
So we
7.
just
So
made
what
room
are
for
we
Matt
talking
Todd.
about? It's your mix, isn't it? And when you talk to Foxy and Steve and all these, they talk about your mix, right? So you're going Matt Todd and Sevilla, and you're going Reid and Sevilla, right? And then you're going Kane and Barrett.
Or Barrett.
Isn't
How
he-
well is Sam Cane playing?
Yeah,
How good was it?
Actually, he was
That's a great way.
unbelievable.
It's a great way for us to go into that game. Let's go into that game and his performance and the way that the impact of the players in Suva, the key players who needed to front up. Now, there was no Matt Todd. He didn't play in that game. But this performance from the Chiefs was exceptional. We've already shown that in their moments. Let's talk about, first and foremost, the game in Suva and the fact that my understanding is that the games now, the commitments to play in Suva are done. Okay. How important now is this game? How important is it, say, New Zealand Rugby and Sanzar find a way for another game to be in Suva?
Well, given that, and put the game aside, the game was outstanding, but if you look at the crowd, and you were there, Jeff, so you can talk about the atmosphere, but why would you not? I'm sure, surely they're lining up to re-sign that contract, and if it's not the Chiefs, it'll be another New Zealand franchise, for sure.
Do not talk to me about money.
Why are you looking at me when you say that?
Because we're saying, does it make money? It's irrelevant. I'll say Joe Rokotoko, Joeli Vinderi, how many other great
Waisaki
Fijians?
Naholo.
Waisaki Naholo. Sitivini Vatu, and we carry on, right? So we need to invest. If we're not going to have big games up there, how are we investing in these great Pacific Islanders that are giving us players year after year? So it's not a money thing. If they're losing money, then we need to find the money to make it work.
It was a great atmosphere, but these conditions at this time of the year, let's talk about that, because it had an impact on the game. The fact that you're thinking about the amount of travel teams are facing, and then they're going from, particularly you talk about the Crusaders going from 3 degrees to 27 degrees and incredibly humid. The challenges that faces, that's something, Ali, as a player at this time of the season, that fits.
It's a challenge, right? But it's still, you are professional athletes. So you do have to move, you do have to have that ability, because at the end of the day, I don't care who you are, this is still a form of entertainment. So you've got to be able to have that ability to move around. The players, the coaches and all that, their regimes and things like that, they change around that. But look, it's just another challenge in professional sports.
When this competition starts in February, it's hot.
Yes,
it's hot here, it's hot in
35.
Australia.
Yeah.
So, if that's an argument, well, then we just move it to the start of the year.
I'm pretty sure it was the same for both sides.
Yeah, and that's another interesting. The atmosphere at the game is fantastic. The support is, is second
And the
to
stuff,
none.
look at the stuff they did out in the community was outstanding.
Yeah, and I think it is important. I'd like to think
massively
that we find a way, whoever it is, whichever franchise, whether it's New Zealand Rugby has to get involved, to find a way to get back there, because they show so much value and add so much value to the competition. We talk about some of the players though, and you mentioned one was Sam Cane. You talk about Brad Weber. You talked about the conditions, and I mentioned them a lot in commentary, because I can tell you what, it was hot, it was humid, it was challenging physically. I think that's the sort of game.
And that was me.
That was me doing the build-up and then sitting on the sideline.
Tell someone who cares.
But let me ask my question of this. Is this the sort of game the All Black selectors look at and go, who can go to the well? Who can find a way to be impactful in this game pod? If you're watching this and you're going, what?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a bit of that. But honestly, I mean, if on that basis, I watched Kieran Reid for about 10 minutes in this match. And I've never seen him hurt. And he was in the hurt locker in a big way. And he wasn't the only one. I mean, it was. I mean, they had a punishing schedule. Yeah. They've come back from Africa. They've played a game, and well, I don't know how it was minus. I was going to say minus, but it was pretty cold.
But it was against the Mighty Blues.
Yeah, that was probably the only good thing. Then they've jumped on a plane and gone back to over to Fiji. So it was trying circumstances for them, and it took its toll.
Yeah, I mean, let's not forget that every year we talk about how the attrition rate of playing local derbies. So they played the Blues, and they've gone and played the Chiefs. If they were playing at home, you'd be fatigued as well. I mean, and that's why the players want to get rid of some of those games, just because they're so hard.
Okay. So in the big picture of things, we've looked at the Crusaders, and they are the defending champions. They're looking for a three-peat, Ali. So I look at this performance on the weekend. We look at these games across the season. There have been some challenges. All right. Are we as confident now as we were a month ago in this Crusaders team?
Definitely. I think if you look at that game, I think it's come at the right time in terms of a check. They were in the lead, things happened, different scenarios happened. Roger, I spoke to Razor Ray today, talked about their decision-making, their poor decision-making around set piece and around their kicking game. I think they're still the front runners and they can close out any
But
game.
I'll
has it got
jump
closer?
on the other side. I'll jump if I'm a team and I'm looking at coming up against the Crusaders in the playoffs. I'm sitting there going, for the first time in a long time, we aren't sitting here, or people aren't sitting around talking about the Crusaders hitting top gear at this time of the year, which they do every time they play in a competition. These guys, the wheels haven't fallen off, but they're not travelling along as nicely as they normally do at this side. If I'm about to play the Crusaders, I'm banking that. I'm going, fellas, we've got as good a chance as we're ever going to have, because these guys aren't travelling as good as they normally do at this time of year.
I think their biggest weakness is that they're going to beat themselves. I think they're that good this season. They've been that good that they get out there. What were they? 10, 12 points up?
20-0.
20-0, right? 20-0 ahead, and they just relax.
Yeah, but no, they had a
that's
war.
undermining the Chiefs' performance a little bit.
No, yeah.
I'm just saying that every game they've lost or drawn, they've been ahead by too much, and they haven't got that.
They're building, mate. Owen Franks is coming back.
I know there was Matt Todd, but I spoke to
Matt Todd,
Razor
don't worry,
before
mate.
the game, and Razor, this is his pre-match interview, was talking about the fact he was hoping to build some confidence and get their game going forward, because the only guys who weren't there were Owen Franks and Matt Todd. Everyone else was there and playing their very best lineup.
And that's the thing. He's had that same conversation a couple of weeks in a row now, when he's talking about, we're okay. We'll forget about this one because now we want to start.
So what do you do about being 20-0 up? If you were the All Blacks or the Crusaders, 20-0 up is what?
Well,
But I think in Super Rugby that's nothing. Actually, 20 minutes in, 20-0 up. I mean,
they got to 30 minutes. They got to the 30 minute
But the
mark.
nature of those games in Fiji have been like that.
20. Are you guys? Can you hear what you're saying? 20-0 up. You should win the bloody match.
That's what I said.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You've won the game at 20
Exactly.
up, surely, at this level of the game.
See, this is the history in Fiji over the previous years has said the same thing. Teams have got out to big leads and the other sides have come roaring back. That's just the nature of those games. Yeah, it kicks in like at altitude at times.
Yeah.
Why do you think the Lions have great success when teams go and play them at Johannesburg? OK, the results of the weekend meant this. This is, as it stands right now, these are the quarterfinals of Super Rugby. Crusaders will take on the Sharks, the Hurricanes will take on the Lions, Jaguares and Bulls, Brumbies and the Rebels. That's what it will sit right now. You've got 4 teams from the South African Conference. We've got a couple of teams from New Zealand and 2 from Australia. All right, gentlemen, here it is. For me, the Jaguares are the team. They are the team of Super Rugby that have surprised, maybe delivering on their potential. And are they good enough if they get home field advantage to get through not just to a semi, but through to a final, and then maybe be good enough, they've been very good on the road, to beat the Crusaders? Does anyone think that's possible?
No. There's no way they'll ever beat Crusaders on the road after two playoff matches. Their style is quite loose, so it suits round robin. I think you come down to playoff games, I think it won't be as flamboyant. Just my 5 cents. Just the reason I'm on the couch.
And that's why it's 5 cents. Because I totally disagree.
Great.
I totally disagree.
You think they're capable of...
I think they're capable.
Wow.
I think they're good enough. I think they've got
So
the
you think
talent.
the
They're
Crusaders are
international teams.
dropping and you think the Jaguares are coming up and you think the Jaguares are going to make the Super Rugby final and then they're going to win?
No, I didn't say that. I said they're capable. I didn't say they're going to. That's the
So
difference.
you're
There's a
sitting on the
significant
fence
difference.
again. We need
The
opinion
fence
here.
suits me. The fence is the seat right here. But JK, you look at the quality of these two teams and how far the Jaguares have come and how well they have played on the road.
Well, can I just remind all of us, and apologies to our South African viewers, we're all saying that their competition was average. 6 weeks ago. So sorry, all our South African friends. But to answer your question, no.
So it's not.
Are we going back to that point? Are we worried that we've only got 2 teams in the finals?
Oh, that's circumstances maybe this year.
Are we not worried? No.
Well, I don't know.
We've got a bigger prize.
I think Chiefs might make a late run.
No, they've run out of games.
That's a good way of thinking about it because and you
And the
mentioned
Blues got a chance?
the Blues have got a chance.
always
It's
have a chance.
mathematical.
Still alive,
I love how the Blues always have a chance.
Yeah.
Even though it's so mathematical.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's mathematical, and they've actually got the best opportunity because they've got the 2 games. They've got to play for bonus points.
We
They
said
go
that
out and
4
throw
weeks
it
ago,
around. We
and
did
then
say
they've
that
lost
4
the
weeks
last
ago.
2,
You're right.
right.
Okay, let's talk about the Hurricanes then. And we talk about teams that get some momentum going away and winning, and the Sharks 2 wins on the road. I look at their performances. I tell you what, JK, what about them then? If you're not on the Jaguares bandwagon,
The Hurricanes can win.
The Hurricanes can
And
win.
I've been saying that all year. They can play ugly and win, and they've done that, and they can play incredibly well. They will now start coming into form, and I think we've been unfairly hard on them. Have they played well? No, but they've missed their players and won by a couple of points. They've had one bad day. What was it?
No, they've had more than one bad day. But where they've struggled, they struggle up front.
But they won.
Yeah. They struggle up front, and you can't go deep into this tournament if you're going to struggle up front.
Dan Cole's going to be back?
They've got the firepower. Well, yeah, he got through.
He got through
rugby.
Dane got through some rugby.
So he's going to be back for the
and,
playoffs, right?
I've seen plenty of positivity out of their group. I don't know if we have been that harsh on them because they themselves have admitted. We've only repeated what they've said, Ali, haven't we? The fact they do their post-match interviews and TJ Perenara said, we didn't play very well today, fell off a few tackles, defensive line, but still to go and win 2 on the road, to me, is better than last year. Remember, they had about 10 in a row they won early and then they tapered off. I mean, I look at the group, I look at the talent, you look at the players.
No shortage of talent.
Yeah,
no shortage of talent whatsoever.
Why couldn't you? Nani Laumapi. You talk about the guys that are out there playing their best football. Wes Houston, I mean.
World's best 10.
And Bowden Barrett, absolutely.
World Player of the Year, cheers.
Jordy Barrett.
No good if his forward pack's going back.
So all of a sudden they're
disagree
starting
with
to execute, they're starting to play well. I mean, and the back of their defence, you know.
They're an unstructured team that could possibly win, but if it's a structured type of game, playoff.
Didn't you just say that about the Jaguares?
Yeah, I'd said Jaguares can't make it.
Yeah, but I'm just saying you're talking about structure. I mean,
I'm saying Hurricanes are like the Jaguares. They're an unstructured team, and that's their possibility of winning if the tournament got a bit looser around playoffs time.
Which it
doesn't. And that's what I'm saying. Tightens up,
Yeah.
favours the Crusaders, favours the likes of the South African teams,
Lions.
Bulls, Lions.
the structured side. So that means the Brumbies are right up there then. Because they don't do anything but structure.
Yeah.
Potentially, yeah.
So they're going to be the top Australian side. I mean, they're going to get an
I think
They've got a great
the
set piece.
Rebels are dangerous. See, this is what I love. All of a sudden, it's game on. The Waratahs
You've just
have to
plucked
find a
that
way.
out.
I think
You've just plucked that out.
if I come back, if I come back to your theory as a forward, right?
Mate, don't even go there. You've never been in there, mate.
I never admitted to.
Here's how it works. You can't play the game without us, but we can play the game without you.
Correct.
You've
Yeah,
tried.
but no one would come. They come to watch us, not you guys. My theory is.
You were straight in.
My theory is. My theory is that
fun.
honestly, if the Rebels forward pack can get some go forward and play well, I still believe
They got
that
beaten by the
those 2
Waratahs
9
on the
and 10.
weekend.
Just let me finish. The 9 and 10 on form, coming into form. Let's say everyone starts coming back into form. I think
Are
they're
you
going to
talking
be
the
good.
Rebels?
Guinea and Cooper.
Exactly.
He's on the Guinea and Cooper bandwagon.
But great Cooper against any New Zealand side. When's the last time he played well against a New Zealand side?
He's like those chocolate flakes. And just starts crumbling. Bit of pressure
We haven't
under
eaten
the
those for
wrapper and
years.
just starts crumbling.
We
Great
haven't-
man. But
Okay, but once again,
doesn't
there's
like
just
New
so
Zealand
many. There's so many permutations and there's so many mathematicals. You look at the Highlanders. You talk about the Chiefs. You know, the Chiefs kept themselves. Imagine if they got the bonus point at the end.
So we're
which would
talking
have been
about playoffs.
phenomenal. Yeah, but they're still
I
alive.
thought we were talking about playoffs.
We are talking about. I mean, if the Blues somehow found their way with 2 bonus point wins to get themselves in the playoffs, would they be dangerous? Would they be dangerous given what they've got? You talk about talent
the
level.
most dangerous thing for the Blues actually right now is to think that they've got a chance.
I'll tell you what, there is the best thing in the Blues that we've seen in a long, long time, and that's Clifford, the big red dog.
He's just got gassed.
He's a champion.
He didn't show Scott Barrett like pace there, though, did he?
Look at him. He just keeps on
I'll
going.
give you that.
No, when I say that about the Blues, I think this week they need to just go out, play some young guys, play some footy, not worry about winning.
Look, the Holland.
Can I ask you a question?
You can
Just
ask me a
on that
Yeah.
little bit of footage we saw, would you have taken the shot at goal?
Yes, I would have taken the shot at goal.
Really?
And I tell you what I said straight away.
Really?
If he was out there and kicking, he would have run over to the captain and grabbed the ball. Foxy would have.
Yeah.
Mertens would have. They would have just given me the ball. No way would a kicker who wants that shot waited for the captain.
But what happens is you've got to play that style through the game. You've got to put point pressure. You can't just say right at the end, have a shot. You know what I mean? Like, you've got to build momentum around these things. Winning games. Winning games.
That's what you're born for, that moment.
Yeah, one play. It's the big thing is that it was one play to win the game. You weren't relying on a kick for touch. You weren't relying for a line-out throw. You weren't relying on a scrum. You were relying on one action. One action to get a result. For me, it was through and through. I know Marshy completely disagrees with me because he doesn't believe it was a high percentage shot at goal. But in my mind, if you're a goal kicker...
If you're a goal...
What would Daniel Carter have done?
He's a goal... Except there's a goal kicker kicking at 50-something% this year.
Well, he was 4 from 5 on the night.
But I also think it's...
On the night.
I also think
so
it's a belief thing, right? And he's only a young man. I think he's going to be very good. I hope the Blues keep investing in him. But Dan Carter would have gone up to Kieran Reid before he made the decision.
Oh, I'll tell you what, the boys are on fire tonight. We've got plenty to talk about after the break, but our Super Rugby franchises are well and truly connected to their community, and in Wellington, the Hurricanes are taking it to a next level.
Girls, good to see you. Hope you all had a good holiday. Welcome to Challenge 2000 whānau.
Challenge 2000 was established in 1988 to serve young people and families and communities in the Wellington region, which of course is the Hurricanes region.
All right, we haven't got time for mucking around. So what we're going to do, I need you to jog, not run, not sprint. I need you to jog, touch that equipment over in the corner there.
One of our staff applied to the Hurricanes to become their charity partners, and we were fortunate enough to be chosen. It's been absolutely wonderful having the connection all this season.
Girls, we're very privileged to have 3 of the guys from the Hurricanes come and join us today. Maybe you 2 guys go on that team. Okay. So Lisa, you go over on this team.
So Bishop Bayard College is one of the 4 colleges in Porirua where Challenge 2000 has social workers and youth workers full-time.
Winter, you throw it in.
Bishop Bayard College, it's a Catholic school, and girls rugby pretty much was non-existent.
Okay, so Winter, you're aiming for here. When I got to the school, I heard that, you know, maybe some of the girls wanted to play, so, well, maybe I can contribute there. I really want to hear the hit on the bag. Yep. I've been involved in secondary school education around the Wellington area since 1989. Coached rugby just about every year, but always boys. Girls, listen please. Once you hit, got to wrap your arms, drive with your legs and push them back. Many of these girls haven't played before, so that's a big challenge. But they're really keen to learn. So for me, this is just new territory, but it's still the game of rugby. You all wrap your arms, drive back. Good.
Like all girls, they love to talk, so there's lots of talking and laughing and mucking around. Jared Tully has a lot of patience when he comes to training.
Last one, go dummy!
It's been quite funny because I sometimes think, are they actually listening to what he's saying? And they do, because when we come off the training, there's a lot of questions as to, oh, was I doing this right? Did I move right? To me, that has blown me away, and that sense of community and that sense of belonging to something bigger, which is what a lot of these young people need.
I think that young people learn so much from being in a team, the disciplines around that, the camaraderie of that, and also just the fun of getting involved in a new activity that's good for them.
I love seeing them empowered, and I love seeing them being able to be confident out on the field and building their self-confidence and being better women.
Coming up, we discuss how the player drain will affect the makeup of Super Rugby in 2020. And Tom Franklin shapes up in our Forwards Kicking Challenge.
Well, is there a hidden talent that's been waiting to come out all these years? No.
G'day, I'm Daniel Leonard-Brown. This is my good mate Tom Franklin, and today we're here for the famous 5 Forwards Kick Challenge. How do you reckon you're going to go?
Not known for my kicking, 2 left feet, but we'll give it a crack.
Dan Carter with a wrong-footed kick, outrageous. Spencer. Oh, what a kick.
Almost put me back out. Jesus. With the dropping. Oh, it's over. Oh, it's over.
Just imagine I'm Justin Marshall, knock her over. That was a spiral.
Stephen Donald nails it. What pressure!
No pressure. Oh, struck that nice. Struck that real nice.
So, Cruden for the game, from the corner. Oh, a match winner from Aaron Cruden.
T Franks, 2 kicks out of 5. What do you reckon?
Not my best performance. It's not my normal tee, and those balls are flat and the posts are a bit skinnier than normal, so it was pretty tough. But hey, I'm pretty sure I'm going to beat you, so it's all good.
Well struck on the last one. The rest of it was fairly average, to be
Great
fair. But Tom
answers,
Franklin, locks should never.
You
do
just
that.
lay off, pal. 2 out of
Last
5 is
kicker.
not bad.
Last international lock kicker.
Johnny Hills.
Hills.
Johnny Hills, and he could kick.
He could kick.
He was outstanding. Not too bad, Tom. Well, Tom is one of those players we're going to talk about now. There are, we think, around 40-odd players that are heading offshore after Super Rugby in 2019. Of course, that includes All Blacks and players in Super Rugby squads and the odd Mitre 10 player as well, I'm sure, is going to head away. So, gentlemen, discussion point here is the fact that, first and foremost, can we realistically expect to protect and keep all of our players, Bob?
No. That's a short answer. No, we can't, and we never have. So this is this is nothing more
typical
than the norm. Yeah. So you know, but we sit there and when we quantify it like that, we think, oh God, that's a lot, you know. But it's been like that for a number of years.
Well, there is signs though, JK, that the players though are younger that are leaving. The fact that this number might be the same, but the age group 25 to 28, 29, there's more players in that range than the senior guys than in the past. So is that more concerning? Because that does give us a lack of depth to a sense, right?
Yeah, look, I think that I'm not worried too much anymore about the older, more established All Blacks. I think they're getting paid enough, the right amount of money to stay. The thing that worries me is the new All Blacks 1 to 5 test matches that we're losing, the Piatows. And, you know, I understand the guys that have played Super Rugby 5, 6 years haven't made the All Blacks. You've got to go. I think the other important thing that we need to realise is that after a World Cup year, we shouldn't let Super Rugby sides park players. Because with 40 leaving, we need all our next best playing at that next level. So, for example, you shouldn't have, you know, 2 really good halfbacks at the Chiefs.
Well, one of them's likely to get injured. That's why we get dispensation.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah,
but your point is absolutely valid.
No one should
100%.
park when we have after World Cup. The next year we go right, boom.
But there's a layer of players, Ali, at the moment where in the past we've been able to rely on to replace our All Blacks. The guys who have played 4 or 5 Test matches, or maybe even 15 to 20. When we lose an experienced player like a Ryan Crotty and a Kieran Reid, there's someone to step up. Are we in danger now of not having that layer?
Yes, I think we are as New Zealand Rugby. We're in danger of not having that layer of guys that have a little bit of experience. You put a lot of effort into them, and the rewards are going to come later. We're in danger there because they are going. Because what's happening is the window of opportunity to be a great rugby player is very small. And if you don't nail it in those first 3 or 4 years as an outside back or a centre or maybe a 10 or a good blind side, a flanker, then you do look at overseas because of the lucrative options. I mean, losing a player like this is, to me, is just dreadful because he's got so much talent and he's the X factor. He's what New Zealand Rugby is built on. It's on those X factor Pacific Island type guys, and they're going overseas now for security, which is the hard part for me.
Yeah, but we come back to the original point. We're never going to stop it though, are we? Because there's a whole lot of people at this level all trying to get to that level, and as you get, there's just not enough space. And people want to play rugby. These guys want to play footy as well.
I agree.
You know, they don't want to be contracted and stay here and then play half a dozen games a season because someone else is in front of them.
But why did O'Driscoll stay in Ireland? I think we've got to start thinking outside the square. If the country agrees that we want to retain these players and we want to have a really buoyant competition, then we just need to change the rules a bit. Can we have some sort of tax relief for players that stay here? Can we get business involved to help some of especially our Pacific Island boys that might be supporting families, extended families, which is a fantastic thing to do.
That should be on all things, JK, not just rugby. We should harness our talent in New Zealand and do what we can to keep them in.
All sporting talent.
All sporting. Even just business. Look at the arts.
That's
Just
right.
look at what we produce around the world. It's a
Yeah.
bigger conversation. We should, as a government, we should, as a country, try and bring people back here and try and utilise our research. As New Zealand Rugby, I think they are doing a great job at retaining these players, because over there, it's a shark pit, and they are biting and biting. And to only lose that many, sorry, Jeff, only lose that many, I think we're actually not doing too bad in consideration. It's just the type of players. Can we get that mix a bit better on who we're losing and who we're not?
Well, I tend to agree with you. We're the number one team in the world, and we've been that way for a long, long time, and we've always managed to find a way. So if we're going to find a way, do we need to change things, or do we continue to do? Because we think about the layers that we do have, and the fact New Zealand Rugby has the responsibility through the amateur game to then the semi-professional to the fully professional game, and then the top of our pyramid, okay? How do we build that pyramid and continue to keep that pyramid strong so the top team has that support, JK?
Well, I think just getting back to it, you have to try and invest the least amount of money for the most return. And I think that's at the college game and at our provincial level. If we can do that, then I think you've got a wider base, right? What's the problem if we go to Mitre 10 and it's not, producing enough for Super, and then Super's not producing enough to be
but
All Black?
One of the challenges we have, though, Pod, is the fact that, yes, there's a real emphasis now on high school football, which is fantastic, college rugby. But the base needs to be strong, and so there still has to be the fact that you want all kids across schoolboy rugby to be aspiring to not just be a professional player, but to be a late developer.
There's two different arguments there, aren't there?
To be a club rugby player, to then find my way through club rugby, to make a Mitre 10 squad, to then at 23 or 24 years old, get my big break into Super Rugby. That pathway still has to exist, right?
Yeah, it does, and it does exist. But now you've thrown in essentially amateur. You've now thrown in the amateur game into this mix, which I unfortunately, like it or not, you can't. You've got to separate the two. There's now professional rugby and there's amateur rugby. And amateur rugby is club stuff. So that's people playing for the love of the game, and the odd person that goes, I might get an ITM
for some people,
contract.
The pathway's still got to be there, though.
It's still got to be there,
but they are there. If you're at school now, there's the path. It's a freeway, mate. It's not a pathway. If you're playing rugby at school and you want to be a professional rugby, there are so many things in place for you to fulfil your potential. It's not funny.
But can New Zealand Rugby afford to invest all levels? Because that's the challenge.
No, that's you. So where do we focus the money?
We need some help, and I think Steve Hansen came out during the year and said, we need to talk to the government about it grassroots. I mean, our game of rugby is our national sport. Whether you like it or not, as a game, you go overseas and you walk into London, Paris, anywhere in the world, and they'll say, All Blacks, New Zealand Rugby. It's still our national sport, and I think the grassroots level is where we need to invest as much as we can. Now, how we do that, I don't know, but if we have to retain our players and put a lot of money over here, we might need some government support to just make it our national sport.
But I believe that's at the lower level. If you're going for government support, it's at the game where it
totally.
benefits everybody, which then has a flow-on effect to then, like you say, New Zealand Rugby, and you've talked about this a lot, Ali, the competition offshore and the size of those contracts and the motivations for players are very, very different. As you say, players looking after their family first and foremost. You talk to the likes of Elima Sapawangas and Charles Pietau and Stephen Luatua. That's what they've talked about. So sometimes it's not always about the money, is it?
Correct. And we can't be everything to everyone. Well, you know what I mean? We've actually just got to narrow our focus down a little bit. I mean, I disagree with you on that. I think we've got to just narrow our focus down a bit. Our pinnacle is the All Blacks. We get there. People find a way. I mean, I started playing rugby when I was 16. You find a way to get there. As Pod said, there's enough routes. You'll find a way if you want to be there. What we've got to do is we've just got to keep things where it's open and the options keep coming through for New Zealand Rugby. At the end of the day, we're New Zealand. We're tiny, but geez, do we compete on the world scale in everything? So let's just harness and embrace it a bit more than. And I don't think let's not put the fear into us.
Can I just ask you a question? I don't believe that the players that you mentioned left because they weren't getting game time. There's a lot of players leaving for the money, more so than game time. I refute that because Luatua, Pietau, and they were playing every week and in the All Blacks.
Yeah, but they weren't getting game time for the All Blacks. They were getting game time for the Blues.
They'd only just started.
We're losing NPC players or whatever it's called. We're losing those players because they're not getting game time in Super Rugby. We're losing, and that's where the.
But I don't
that's
think.
where the
Come
shift
back
is.
to your point. I don't think you can control that, right?
No.
The fact there's always going to be
because the funnel goes that way.
Yeah,
We get our weights, and after this World Cup bender's gone, who's going to be fullback? I mean, you've got to wait
but
a
you've
wee
waited
bit as
4
well.
years.
You know?
He's waiting 4 years.
Well, how old is he?
Look at our look at our
26.
coaches, though.
Yeah.
Look at our
26.
coaches.
I mean, are we going to see, Pod, maybe some more flexibility, like we're seeing around Sam Whitelock? The fact that he's been given that opportunity for the
that
sabbatical,
comes
the
back
paying sabbatical.
Yeah, and that comes back to I think we actually don't do too bad a job. Your point, Ali. I don't think we do too bad a job at managing it as it exists. We're still world champions. We're still going all right in the professional game. Are there some issues to be addressed in terms of participation? Clearly, if all the dialogue that I hear around the game at the amateur level, and maybe I think that if you're talking about a focus, put the focus there because the professional game will always be the professional game, and I think we do enough to retain the talent because we're never going to stem that flow.
I don't think Whitelock's our problem. I don't think the top 15 All Blacks are our problem, the top 20 All Blacks are our problem. I also think we could go and have a really strong relationship with Japan. They're going out of Super Rugby, they're going to go back to their competition. We're already getting guys going up there for what I call financial sabbaticals. We need to use that. And it's not use it for the Whitelocks of this world, it's actually using it for the Niner.
I challenge
Malani Nanai.
Yeah, I challenge the Japanese relationship to Australian relationship. I think we should come together stronger, Australia and New Zealand, to create a bit more of a catchment pool.
I'll tell you what I do like is the fact that we're not concerned. I don't think we're too concerned right now, which is a great sign for New Zealand rugby. Just news coming through, big news for the Hurricanes. Via Fafita has been suspended for 3 weeks. Whether or not that harms the Hurricanes' form going through to the playoffs, we will see. Well, you talked about World Cup champions. We love a celebration here and New Zealand. And for Havelock North, it was their 125th on the weekend, and it looked like it was a cracker.
This weekend, Queen's Birthday weekend, is our 125th anniversary here at Havelock North. Today we had 46 teams playing out here on our 4 fields, so it was a pretty chocker place to be for the junior rugby. This afternoon we've got our development team playing and then also our premiers, and we're taking on Clive today because they're the premier team from last year, so we wanted to make sure we were celebrating our 125th, but we didn't want to make it easy for ourselves.
So this club is a village club, a very, very small community amongst the Hawke's Bay district. Of course, we're so small, it just creates that the whānau atmosphere that is here at Havelock North Rugby.
To be a part of the 125 celebrations is a very special day. We had a bit of a get-together on a Friday night, jersey presentation, and all the old boys turned up, and I was a ball boy when I was 4 years old and Dad was coaching, and to see those guys doing a haka for us and just the history of the club, the mana of the club, it's unreal to be a part of, and it really does mean a lot, especially for those guys that have been in the club for a long, long time, for them to get a bit of recognition and celebrate sort of what they've put effort into. It's been fantastic, so yeah, awesome weekend for us.
We've got 5 All Blacks that have come through this club, and 4 of them came through our junior club. So they started with juniors, Danny Lee being one of our first in there, and then Bryn Evans was another one that followed, and Hicker Elliott as well, and then Gareth Evans. So we've got a good history. So we're only small, we're not a big city team, yet we still have 23 teams here at the rugby club.
How rugby's going at the moment, you know, grassroots rugby, it's so tough. Clubs are struggling to get young players, Colts teams, but this club's got heart. We just bleed black and blue, really, and it's so special.
Our values is around integrity, and we try to bring in some resilience for our young people, and just to help them and show them that about teamwork and what it's like to play for a team, but also the difficulties there are in life as well.
Just to see all those players of yesteryear come back, and it was like, just made me realise how important our rugby family is. It's not just a rugby club.
Havelock North, 1, 2, 5.
Tonight we're at our formal dinner where there'll be a lot of yarns spoken, and we're all looking forward to that.
Still to come, who is the best singer in Super Rugby? Then we go to extra time. Which All Blacks have a battle for their spot?
rates himself as the best singer in the team?
I reckon someone that rates himself that's not that flash is Daggy.
Yeah. He's still living off that Air New Zealand ad from years
100%,
ago.
he's still living off of that.
Joey Wheeler thought that he was pretty good. He would hog the mic and try and get in all the songs, but he was terrible. But he thinks he's good.
Give TJ Perenara a few beers and he's got a pretty good voice on him.
That's easy. Best singer or rates himself has to be TJ Whānau.
To be fair, if you want to hear a singer, it would be a rap. He's pretty sharp, he does rapping.
Sounds like a dying cat, but he definitely rates himself.
I'll probably have to back myself.
I don't know, he is actually the best singer. He's always singing. He has a beautiful voice, Caleb.
I was about to say Caleb too.
It's just in my genes. As a Māori boy, you're born with good vocals. So.
Billy Harmon's actually really talented rapper. He writes his own raps and stuff. So.
Well, I try as hard as sometimes you got to go as I can.
Hello, is it me you're looking for? I can see it in your
Aki and...
Your anthem was good?
Yeah, anthem went all right.
Strong?
Full bellow. Oh, there's nothing tone or... I mean, it's horrific to listen to, but...
You belted it out?
Yeah, sheesh, we went to it, yeah. Me and Dan and a few of us, we really got into it.
You got into it?
Yeah.
That's great to see. It's great to see. That's why we go to extra time. We're going to cut that off right now. We don't want any singing from you on the show. We're going to talk about positions and the contestables. I asked the guys to come up with the positions they thought were most contestable in the All Blacks, and they come up with 3 different. And Ali, you can go first.
I've gone for the 6, Jeff. And
I know, for one reason only. For one reason only.
Hey, there's
because it's so open, I had to write it down. And I've gone for the possibilities are we've got Barrett, Frizzell, Fafita, but unfortunately, I think he's just shot himself in the foot. You've got Jordan Tafua, you've got Elliot Dixon, Liam Squire. I think we've got Dalton Papali'i, a name that we haven't really mentioned. And there's one other, and it's the great Tom Robinson, Clifford, the big red dog. Can you imagine all those names in the hat? And I don't think there's 2 clear winners there, but for me, I think that the big winner, I think, is Liam Squire, is still there, has to be, and I'm going Barrett.
So there's time, though. You think there's time, the next month, the next over the Rugby Championship, that someone's got time to put their hand up?
All of those players have got a chance. All of them.
Pod, for you?
9s, clearly.
Halfbacks?
Yeah, halfbacks. I never liked them, but I think it's probably...
you spent most of the game next to them.
Yeah, I know, but I didn't like them. Anyway, so we've got 2. Lock them in. We've got 2 incumbents, so there's 2 players vying for Bryn Hall, Brad Weber, and, well, I'm going to throw in, obviously, Triple T as well. So there's 3 guys. There's 3 very good halfbacks, and you go back to the old mantra of you pick a guy on form, then surely Brad Weber goes.
Yeah, I like Weber.
Brad Weber goes to Rugby World Cup. Will that happen?
Titoiroa was outstanding, though.
I'll tell you what, for someone who hasn't played a lot of footy, he looked good, but we're talking about contestable positions. I think that's a hot contest. And Brad Weber has made it so hot it's not funny.
JK, for you?
Well, I wasn't that good at maths at schools, but 6 never went into 5 and doesn't go into 4. So I went for the centres.
Midfield.
So think about this. Who you can do, Ali? Crotty.
What am I going to do?
Good Hugh. Nonu, Sonny Bill, Anton Leonard-Brown, and Lamapi. There you go. Who leave out? Who do you leave out?
You're taking 4.
I reckon 4.
See, they've even made noises about only 3.
Possibly 3.
So, wow.
But if you went 4, what do you do?
Well, you can't leave out Good Hugh, can you?
Yeah, who's your incumbent? Good Hugh, Leonard-Brown.
And Sonny Bill.
And Crotty.
And Crotty.
And Crotty.
And Crotty. No,
I wouldn't say Sonny Bill's the incumbent.
So here's the thing for me.
He's been injured. Unfortunately, he's been injured.
But...
So
again,
you've got to go with the
Steve
great...
Hanson's made the statement he's fit, he goes.
However, if you don't take either Sonny Bill or Ma'a, then you have no World Cup experience.
Correct.
You know the great irony of this debate is that 2 minutes ago we were talking about the loss of talent through this country. Now we're sitting here going, there are going to be some fantastic footballers watching the Rugby World Cup.
Well, no, they won't
TV.
be watching. What they'll be doing is they'll be staying prepared, right? They'll be playing the Mitre 10 Cup and they'll be getting and being ready to
Well,
go.
that-
So that's the
yeah.
most important thing. We can't forget that.
Or they would have signed a contract and they'll be on a plane.
No.
Or the New Zealand Barbars go on a trip with all the boys.
We don't know. If we get injuries, we're going to have to call on somebody. Social media time. Let's go back to Steph.
On social media this week, we found this meme about the Crusaders Chiefs game. Now, as a viewer, it definitely looked like it was hot, but was it worse?
It was brutal. It was so difficult. 10 minutes into the game, the players are out on their feet. Everyone that came subbed off were absolutely drenched. Great movie that, though, Airplane. Classic, absolute classic.
And this one also caught our eye over the weekend. Just a reminder to all the parents out there not to take your kids' games so seriously. It can happen. And on the notice board this week, we have Jonesy's Gala Dinner, and Jonesy's Youth Foundation supports an unfortunate situation where a boy or a girl rugby player has sadly experienced the loss of a mother or father. So if you want more information on that Gala Dinner, it's at Eden Park on the 3rd of August. Just head to their website. And finally, on the notice board this week, Ryan Crotty is celebrating his 150th Crusaders game. Go the Crusaders!
Oh, go the Crusaders. There it goes. They've named a stand after them. Outstanding. That's what they do down there. Great to have you back, Pod.
Great.
JK.
Great to
Ali,
love the
as
Chiefs.
always. Big game on Thursday. Rotorua boys, they're taking on, who is it? They're taking on Tauranga boys. That's Thursday at 12:30. Make sure you watch Kick-Off as well. And go the Black Caps.
Yeah.
Go the Black Caps.
Get up there,
Yes.
Black Caps.
Go on, boys.
You ain't seen nothing like this. Come on and give me